Hello everybody, welcome back. So we're going to have a look at some small term time frames and then a little bit of hopium implied thereafter for EOS, right? So we're all talking about the bullish, well I say we're all, I am talking about bullish scenarios playing out within crypto, which seems to be a bit of a difficult pill for a lot of people to swallow because the word bear market is so ingrained into crypto Twitter and YouTube and everything like that. But I sound like a broken record, but I do have to keep saying it. You know, we talked about this potentially happening. When it happened, I said, okay, it's happened. We're going to have to establish a range. The obvious range is 49,000 to 40,000. This is the range that so far we've got. Because I think this is an accumulation range, I bought down here because this has all been planned since, I suppose, the day before or leading into before this big drop. And then especially when the drop happened. And so my analysis remains the same. And the same as it was before the drop, same as it was after the drop, and same as it is throughout this, what I think is accumulation. So not only that, is that Bitcoin did have this descending channel, we've broken out of that now, so it adds more weight to these support levels between 41 and 39,000 being stronger than they were before because we're outside of a descending channel, which is normally a bullish thing to be breaking out of there. We had bullish retests, you can call them bullish retests, but we spoke about this yesterday, which is how we were able to get the fact that we were going to move up yesterday despite everybody saying that we're going to go down. We had a test of the trend line, another test, and then that's where we moved. Then at the moment, I suppose we're waiting, aren't we? We're just waiting. We're waiting for continuation. But what I'm trying to suggest is that the lows for Bitcoin are likely already in, and I can't say guaranteed to be in, I'm saying likely already in. There are other reasons why it could break down. We've spoken about this. This is how we even anticipated the drop. It wasn't to do with the chart. This drop was to do with things outside of the chart. The virus, the tapering, and a range of other things. And so sometimes the chart doesn't give you all the clues that you need. But for the moment, since we broke into this zone, the chart became more relevant again, which is why I'm pretty confident in trying to play these moves, especially when we get down here. So we got a lot of moves. We bought. Well, I say I bought the Bitcoin low. We got some epic bounces on altcoins. And now what we're looking to do is hope and pray for an accumulation range to move to the upside. And it doesn't mean a breakout all the way up to a new all-time high. It means that we will continue to be in the accumulation range. This can look like this, which is how this has moved so far. It's not just a straight up and down and up and down and up and down. It can look like how it's looked already, so we spend a fair bit of time in a top range, break down to test the bottom side of the range, we could come down and test it, go up to this range, we could do all kinds of things. The idea is that this is what I consider to be the major accumulation range for Bitcoin. Bitcoin being the major indicator for the overall health of the market, and so if I think that this is an accumulation range, it's worth trying to accumulate not just Bitcoin, but potentially other things that are at significant areas, significant lows. So let's have a look at EOS. That's right, a nice little segue into something that's absolutely wrecked. EOS is a difficult one really because when we were trading EOS in the past, we had a really good setup and a setup that worked out really well. So we came out of a long period of consolidation into a clear but volatile area of accumulation, and then we got certain buy signals which led to the original move up. And that was a great trade, this was really good. This is an amazing trade, especially when everybody said that EOS is a dead coin, right? It showed that TA, when applied to a chart, despite how popular or unpopular a coin is, can work out really well. Now, no one really saw this coming. Everybody thought it was crazy. No one really saw it coming, but there were signals. There was an accumulation range. There was a very clear consolidation ending, and then after this pump, we got a conversion baseline cross on the weekly, signifying a continuation of a trend forming. We can see that over here. That was a perfect signal. That means a continuation of a trend, and that's what we got. So that's why I bought more at that level. So that's the long-term time frames, and that is now over with. We don't have any of these sort of signals anymore. This trend was abruptly put to an end when the market crashed. It would have continued up, in my opinion. It would have continued up. There was no reason for it not to continue up if it wasn't for the market basically over the space of 2 weeks losing half of its market cap gone in an instant. And obviously that will put any altcoin back to bed, which is what it did for EOS in spectacular fashion. Unbelievable how speedy that was. But the chart gave us the entry points and told us that it was all okay. We got a very low entry point, and we got pretty much an instant uptrend form as a result of those signals. Now, we don't have any of those at the moment, but what we are doing is coming down to a very significant, well, we've already tagged it really, but in the bottom area of the original accumulation zone, which is down here, between the lows of about, well, we'll call it $2.30 well, the top of this accumulation range was $2.30 up to $3.60, but now we're in the bottom portion of it, which means that, in my opinion, it's worthy of accumulation once again. But remember, we don't have the same setup as we did before. We had a very long period of consolidation and a shorter period of accumulation. We don't have anything like that now. What we're getting here is basically a demolished chart which has come back down to square one without any buy signals on it. So if we go to the small term time frame, so we'll go to like a 4 hourly, and I don't normally do these sort of things, but if we look at the 4 hourly, this is what we would call an inverse head and shoulders, right? So the drop down here, so we've got the shoulder, we've got the neck, we've got the shoulder, and so this is your neckline here. Looks like a cock and balls there, but you can see what I'm talking about. And so with the neckline, what we'll do is we'll get out the a trend line here, and this is essentially the neckline that needs to break. Okay, and this is only on the short-term time frames, right? This is all we're talking about, short-term time frames. And then if we're talking about that, then we're talking about it breaking and going up to what would probably be about just above $3, probably to the 200 exponential here on the 4 hourly, which is just about $3.10, right? And if we think about what $3.10 is, it's nothing. It doesn't represent anything other than a trend line, not even a trend line. It's a 200 exponential moving average on a 4 hourly. But if we can get to that level and get above it, then we could revisit the top of the accumulation zone. And again, this is just accumulation still. This is all it is. It's not uptrend, it's just accumulation. This could be a short-term time frame scalp trade for those who want to do derivatives. That could be it, and that could push you up to $3.14 as of this moment in time, $3.10 to be safe. But it doesn't mean it's going to instantly move up. But for spot traders, coming in all the way back down to these low levels once again, and picking some up is not the worst thing in the world. It's just that, just like any accumulation, it's a waiting game. You buy into it and you wait. I remember when I was first doing this and I started talking about EOS back down here, and again, I'm not into EOS or anything, I'm into charts. But since doing that, people seem to think I'm some kind of EOS maximalist because I was talking about EOS when everybody was not really. I have to keep reiterating that this was an epic setup, and this one isn't a setup at all. It's just a low valued EOS, right? But this was an epic setup, and this went on to a nice big move. I'm not, like I say, an EOS maximalist or anything like that, but one thing about EOS that we learned from this is that, if anything, it does like incremental moves up and incremental moves down. It enjoys horizontals a lot. And if we're talking about horizontal support, then we've got one that goes back to 2018, where we're at basically now, where we revisited down here. This is a horizontal level of support. Even this center of this accumulation has relevance to it on a horizontal level. So, bit by bit, slowly but surely, we'll be looking to reclaim these zones bit by bit, slowly but surely, just as we did on the way up to the bottom, down, up to the top, down to the bottom, up to the top, down to the bottom, break through resistance, retest as support, break through resistance, retest as support, break through resistance, and then unfortunately the market wouldn't allow it to continue. I was saying that we're going to get a big dump. I'm thinking that the dump would have taken us to 7, or at best maybe just short of 9, but didn't happen because the market didn't permit it. But you can see that horizontals are something that EOS really does like, and so it's unlikely that we break down below this level, $2.40. It's very unlikely we break down. That's why we had such a big buyback here. And even if you think about it in terms of the wicks and how it's responded to that, it's never retested the low of this wick, similar to XRP. Unlike something like Bitcoin, which has, and lots of other coins have gone back down lower than their wicks, this had a really big, strong buyback from that wick. Now we can measure that out. In fact, just that bounce alone was a 65% bounce. Not too bad at all. For what it's worth, it doesn't mean that it's strong. It just means that the buyers are in on this. Now, in the short-term time frames, we've got a bit of a consolidation going on the short-term time frames. We've got our head and shoulders on the 4-hourly. You know, we are splitting hairs here for short-term trades, but for, you know, I suppose buying and holding for what will inevitably be the reclaiming of these zones over time, I don't see as a bad idea. It just means that this will be another one of those buys on a spot position that you buy and you have to hold and wait for it to work out. From what I understand, the fundamentals have got stronger since the bullish exchange went and is now operational. It's not really impacted the price in any way, but fundamentals apparently still there. It's a fully functioning, fast, operational blockchain as well. It's not nothing, but as far as the chart's concerned, it's not very good. Unless, of course, you're looking to buy low in the inevitable creeping up, incremental creeping up of this chart. And as I've said with the Bitcoin chart, I believe Bitcoin's accumulating at these levels, roughly being, you know, at that low back down here where we picked it up again. And so I believe that we'll be looking to do that again. So we have a look over here. This is the Bitcoin pairing. Most altcoins look like this, but it's also worth recognizing that this is one of the things that you deal with when you're dealing with altcoins. Lots of new people on the Telegram ask me the same question, which is, will this coin ever go back to its all-time high versus Sats? And I have to say, you go through any altcoin, they all look like this. Maybe not quite so savage, but this is basically what they look like. Nothing ever really reclaims. Bitcoin ends up always swallowing up all the sats that anything ever gains in the short term. It's very unlikely that coins will reclaim all their sats. There are some coins that do it, but not very many, and so most of them look like this. But what we do have is we are basically trickling down to another level of significant support, which is basically where we're at right now versus its sats. And if we were to break out of here, it wouldn't take too much for it to push. And I've been saying recently that for a lot of altcoins, the secrets are in the sats. We're all getting squashed down on what would appear to be a very low but and then slow accumulation zone of its own. The portion of the cloud being green over here is one thing. The Chiku span is only over here. What we need to see is that Chiku span, price, and conversion baseline all just basically get above that this cloud. We don't have any of those things. We've got a green portion of the cloud, but we're not above it. We don't have a blue crossing the red conversion baseline, and we don't have the Chiku span above the cloud. But if we think about what this means in terms of time frame, all we need to do is creep up by a matter of 3 or 4% over the next 8 days for all of those components to be true. And if that's the case, then that would suggest a push up. That would also get us above the 50 exponential on the daily and all other moving averages. The only thing that would be above us at that stage would be the 200 exponential, coming in at around 876 sats at the moment, but it is also declining. So there is a bit of hopium in the short-term time frames, definitely. It's not as bad as people seem to think it is. I think when it comes down to picking coins which are at extreme lows, the lows can obviously go down further than where they are right now, but there are signs of the bears and the downtrends dissipating, and the gains that the shorts have been making and just basically the lows forming, they're all getting closer to coming to an end, in my opinion. And so you have to at some stage think about either scaling in and biting the bullet, and by buying dollar cost averaging or scaling in as we go lower and lower and lower, that's how you do it. You don't go all in, go, okay, the support there, let's go, everything I've got all in here, whoa, let's go further down, because that could obviously happen. When you talk about scaling in, you have, okay, well, this is an obvious area, we'll have to scale in some here because it's just an obvious area. Doesn't mean it'll have to hold. If it doesn't hold, then we can scale in a little more. Maybe if it comes down to revisit this wick, or scale in more, hopefully we'll get a bounce there. You scale in bit by bit, bit by bit, bit by bit, and if the first amount that you scaled in ends up being the move, great. You wait for the uptrend to be generated. You wait for the moving averages to start moving up. You buy those dips. That's what dips are for buying. You buy the dips. At the moment, this is more than a dip. This is a multi-year consolidation. So, I mean, can you even call it a consolidation, really, when it looks like that? Is it just basically a constant bear market, to be honest with you. It's a constant bear market. But there is signs of hopium on the short-term time frames and on the daily, but no signals yet implied on any of them. Not yet. We'll give it another week or two. Again, scaling in here I don't think is a bad idea, just based on the horizontal support. But it doesn't mean that it'll it's not a buy signal or anything like that. It's an area to buy. But if this is the bottom, then congratulations, you've managed to buy the bottom of EOS. And if that is the bottom of EOS, and if EOS does end up reclaiming all its zones and beyond, like it was destined to do on this initial run, there will be buy signals generated somewhere along the lines, maybe in the next few weeks to months or whatever, and we will be looking for full retracements, incrementally to the way up. You're at 85% to its major area of where we're looking for it to break out, which is just above $5. Then it would be a matter of incrementally taking it up level by level, 149, 200, and then basically 300, and see where we go from there, like I say. But that's all hopium implied based on horizontal resistances that are yet to be broken. But there are signs that momentum to the down is wavering, and that the lows are either already in versus its tether pairing, or will be revisited shortly before that would be the ultimate. I'd say this would be the ultimate buy zone, based on the fact that this goes back such a long period of time, with very few faltering areas. But remember, this is just there's nothing on here right now which is extremely bullish or anything like that. We saw in the 4 hourly there's an inverse head and shoulders that's likely to push us up to maybe at best just above the $3 zone. That is all we've got going for us at the moment as far as signals are concerned, and that is, it's only a 6% move. It's really not anything to talk about, to be fair. But when we're talking about spot trading and dollar cost averaging into something that's got a long way to go, more up than down, should we say, then EOS it does tick that box. Definitely, it definitely ticks that box. But remember, it's a trade based on supports, not a trade based on signals. And so by not having any buy signals in play, it is more of a long-term position that you buy here and then you wait. It could take months, it could take the best part of the year, but the idea is that over time you will find your way back up to its previous high over here, between $12 and $13, and anything other than that would be a bonus, and we'd have to reassess the situation based on the market's health, which is something that I suppose were overlooked to an extent, even though we did suggest on the channel that we are looking for a bit of a peak to take place. For the entire market to lose 50% of its market cap in a 2-week period was I suppose a little bit wasn't expecting that much of a demise, but we were limiting a lot of our exposure across the board when we saw that there was a potential peak forming. But yeah, we will have to reassess the situation with every level which is reclaimed for EOS every step of the way. But for the moment, the risk to reward is pretty good when it comes to EOS. The only problem that you'll have is time, and EOS can be a pain in the absolute ass when it comes to time frames, because all we're trying to do is battle these horizontals, and at the moment we're back down to square one, and the first horizontal is basically where we're trying to push right now, which I think will break on the lower term time frames. Whether we break it and then get support on it is a different story. The inverse head and shoulders on that 4 hour does suggest that we will break it. Whether we retain that as a support is a different thing altogether. If we do, then great, because that means that we're looking to head up towards the next horizontal, and then the next one after that, and the next one after that. Anyway, I think you get the idea, but I hope you have a nice day, and take it easy.